On the morning of March 3rd, 2026, the world woke up to something it had feared for decades but never quite believed would happen.
Global crude oil prices, viewers, have surged sharply, crossing the $90 per barrel mark.
Oil prices have risen, at one point hitting $100 a barrel.
Crude oil prices explode amid the West Asia war. Brent crude near $120 a barrel.
Crude oil is up 53% in a week.
Crude oil, which had been sitting around $80 a barrel, jumped to $96 overnight. By noon, it crossed $100. By the end of the week, it was touching $120. And the world is watching oil prices spiral $200 a barrel. Something had broken, something big. Qatar, the country that supplies gas to millions of homes across Europe and Asia, quietly sent a two-line notice to its buyers. We cannot deliver. We are stopping all exports until further notice. Because the only route out had been shut down. The Strait of Hormuz was closed. To understand what just happened to the world, you need to understand one strip of water. The Strait of Hormuz sits between Iran to the north and Oman to the south. At its narrowest point, it is just 33 kilometers wide. But through that stretch of ocean, every single day flows nearly 20 million barrels of oil. That is 1/5 of all the oil the entire world consumes every single day. Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, UAE, Qatar, none of their oil gets anywhere without passing through this choke point. There is no other way out. The desert surrounds them on all sides. The only door is the strait. Following coordinated US-Israel airstrikes on Iran on February 28, 2026, the Iran declared the Strait of Hormuz a war zone. They began attacking any vessel that attempted to pass through. Within 48 hours, tanker traffic collapsed. Ships that were mid-route turned around. New ships refused to enter. By March 2nd, not a single commercial tanker was transmitting its location signal inside the strait. The most important shipping lane in the world had gone completely dark. And then came the piece of news that truly paralyzed global trade. Within 72 hours of Iran's warning, global marine insurers panicked. From London to Oslo, every major war risk insurer pulled coverage for vessels entering the strait overnight. Premiums exploded from 0.2% to 1% of ship's value, adding hundreds of thousands of dollars to a single voyage. Traffic collapsed 80% in 24 hours, then virtually zero. Washington scrambled. Trump backed a $20 billion reinsurance program through CHEP and coverage technically returned. But here is what the headlines missed. Insurance came back and ships still did not move. Over 1,000 vessels remain frozen on both sides of the strait because no police in the world pays out a dead crew. The United States has the most powerful navy in history. The Fifth Fleet is stationed right there in Bahrain, a short sail away. Why can't it just force the strait open? Because Iran spent 40 years making sure that question would never have an easy answer. Iran's military strategy along the strait is built on one idea. You don't need to defeat a superpower. You just need to make the cost unbearable. The entire northern coastline of the strait is lined with shore-based anti-ship missiles. Precision cruise missiles that hug the water surface and are extraordinarily hard to intercept. Iran can hit anything in that water without a single soldier leaving land. Then there are the swarm boats. Hundreds of small, fast attack craft that can surround a large naval vessel in minutes. Add to that mines. In the 1980s, Iran mined the Gulf and nearly halted global shipping. In early March 2026, the US military destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels near the strait, which tells you Iran was already seeding the water. Iran has spent 40 years building its deterrence strategy around one single asset, the Strait of Hormuz. Every missile battery, every swarm boat, every mine, every carefully cultivated relationship with proxy groups across the region. All of it pointed at one goal: the ability to hold the world economy hostage if attacked. The International Energy Agency has already classified this as the largest supply disruption in the history of global energy markets. Larger than the 1973 Arab oil embargo, larger than the Iraq war disruptions, the largest ever. Ships sit anchored outside the strait, waiting, going nowhere, each day costing their owners hundreds of thousands of dollars in dead time. Shipping companies have begun rerouting around the southern tip of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope. a route that adds 10 to 14 days to every voyage, millions of dollars in extra fuel, weeks of delay in every cargo. The entire rhythm of global trade, built on speed and predictability, suddenly disrupted. And here is the darkest irony of all. The United States cannot simply destroy Iran's oil infrastructure to end this. Because if Iranian oil goes offline permanently, global prices don't fall, they spiral further upward. Iran knows this, and it uses it as a shield. Iran's new supreme leader pledged to maintain leverage over the Strait of Hormuz in his first message to the nation. But here is where it gets interesting. Iran is attaching a condition to reopening it. Pay for the oil in Chinese yuan, not dollars. For the first time in 52 years, a nation is holding the petrodollar system hostage at the world's most critical choke point. Every tanker that passes through on yuan terms is a direct hit to dollar dominance. This is not just a military crisis anymore, it is a financial one. Iran announced the strait would remain closed specifically to ships from US, Israel and their Western allies, but approved passage for Turkish, Indian and Saudi vessels. Trump is now calling on other nations, including the UK, to send ships and help keep the strait open, saying this has always been a team effort. Nations have fought over rivers wider than that. Cities have grown up around gaps smaller than that. And yet, this one narrow passage, this 33-kilometer corridor of blue water between Iran and Oman, has more power over your daily life than almost any government, any law, any election. Because this is where the energy comes from. The energy that heats your home, runs your car, flies your food across continents, powers the hospital where your family gets treated. It all passes through here. Missiles decides battles, choke points decide civilizations. The Strait of Hormuz was never just geography, it is a leverage. It is power. It is the reason every major geopolitical conflict in this region carries global consequences. One country, one narrow waterway, 20% of the world's oil, and the world's most important 33 miles remains a battlefield. If you like this video, share and subscribe to this channel.